everyone, my name is NewFlowerGirl, but you can call me Demi, and welcome back to another Aftertalk video. Today we're going to be talking about the Heineken Dutch Formula 1 Grand Prix. This was probably one of the best races in Zandvoort that I have seen on live television. Fun fact, we're probably going to go next year to the real thing on Saturday for qualifying. But the twist is, the sprint races have not yet been announced. So, there is a chance that we might have one race on the Saturday. Because there's no Formula 2 and Formula 3 next year in Zandvoort. And we've also signed up for 2 years, so for 2024 and 25. So, yeah. I'm not sure if we're gonna go, if we have the access to, we only had to sign up and that was it. Now we have to wait until October-ish, and then we will get notified if we can get the tickets. But yeah, either way I will watch the race. And yeah, if we're going, I am gonna vlog it. Just saying. So yeah. So we're gonna read the race report just like usual. With the MotoGP I don't do that because they're more yeah, they're just more things. Like you have the Moto3, Moto2. With this I just have I just have Formula 1 to worry about. So yeah. Max Verstappen converted a pole position into victory at the Dutch Grand Prix for the third year in a row, navigating an action-packed rain-hit encounter to take the checkered flag ahead of Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly and draw level with Sebastian Vettel on 9 successive F1 wins. It all began with spits of rain before the start of the race that dramatically turned into a shower on the first lap, prompting split strategies up and down the order as Verstappen headed a pack of drivers who initially stayed out on slicks, and teammate Perez led the group into the pits to take on intermediates. What followed was a frantic opening phase as those who made an early switch to intermediates rose to the fore, while those who stayed out longer on slicks lost a handful of positions prior to the rain easing off and the track gradually drying up. There was one guy on Intis who couldn't get past a guy on slicks in the rain, and that was Lance Stroll. I just had to get it out. I'm sorry. Rumors are saying that he's gonna leave F1 and go to do tennis. So yeah, we'll wait and see. With the Red Bulls running those aforementioned alternate strategies, it was Perez who led the way as the race settled down, while Verstappen had fallen back to fourth behind Zhou Guanyu and Gasly and had work to do to reclaim P1, which wasn't too much of a trouble. After managing to do so with such superior pace, Verstappen looked to set a clear run to the checkered flag and win on a bone-dry track, only for further rain to work its way onto the radar and hit the track with force in the closing stages. That led to another flurry pit lane activity and a red flag after Zhou crashed out, bringing a 7-lap dash to the flag when the action resumed and serving up one last test for reigning double world champion Verstappen to overcome. Overcome it Verstappen did, as he kept his cool at the slippery restart and managed the gap back to Alonso and Perez with a plump confirming his hard-fought triumph and equaling Vettel's victory record that stood since 2013. And that was 9 races in a row. So Monza is up next, and I'm not too confident about him breaking the record. I will, I will explain why at the end, because yeah, it kind of has to do with that. What is going to happen at the end of the race? Alonso's second place finish marked his first podium since Canada more than 2 months ago, while Perez crossed the line in third, but was hit with a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which, fair enough, he couldn't do anything about it. He just crashed into a wall, and he couldn't brake at that point. So yeah. Promoting a delighted Gasly, who had started 12th, to the Rostrum. Don't know what that word is. Perez had to settle for 4th as after his sanction, followed by the Ferraris of Carlos Sainz and Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, who were involved in a late wheel-banging scrap as Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Oscar Piastri and Esteban Ocon completed the points. You heard it, both McLarens in the points. Lance Stroll just missed out on a top 10 finish in the other Aston Martin, followed by Nico Hülkenberg, F1 newcomer Liam Lawson, I'll explain that one after this whole thing, and Kevin Magnussen, the AlphaTauri driver, given... Wait, they forgot one. Oh no, wait, they didn't. The AlphaTauri driver given a 10-second penalty for impeding the Dane in the pit lane. So, Liam Lawson wasn't supposed to drive. As you guys would know, Daniel Ricciardo is basically replacing the Dutch driver with the name of Nick de Vries. I almost forgot. Because de Vries was not good enough. And then Ricciardo comes in Hungary and was like, same space. So I was like, I think they underestimated Ricciardo. And then, coming back to Zandvoort, FP2, 15 minutes into practice, Piastri crashes into turn 3, the Kumbocht. And then a couple of seconds later, Daniel Ricciardo went into the wall as well. He broke his wrist. Yeah. That is unfortunate. But that did give Liam Lawson a chance to race, to prove himself. Ricciardo ended up saying, after he came back from Med Center during an interview, that it was either hit Piastri or hit the wall. In my opinion, he made the right call to go into the wall. I would say that with every driver, because you don't want to hit another driver on purpose, because that can give you a penalty. You don't want to do it on accident as well, because they might deem it as doing it on purpose. So yeah, it's good to know that he wanted to do it otherwise, avoid more damage to both his car and the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. That moment aside, it was a strong debut performance for the 21-year-old New Zealander, he's from New Zealand, yes, who otherwise stayed out of trouble and kept his car on the track, finishing 3 spots up on his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who took a 5-second penalty of his own for causing a collision with George Russell. Yeah. Overtaking a Ferrari, an experienced Ferrari driver, on debut, with an amazing dive bomb down into the arena, which is like, which is basically Hans Ernst chicane, which is hopefully where we're gonna sit then if we're gonna go to F1. And he just made it stick. But then again, the Ferrari of Leclerc did have damage. We'll go over that in a bit. But yeah, he did so well. I think they should sign him up for AlphaTauri. And also, I want to make a mention. When I went to DTM in Assen, when I took that photo with Alex Albon, if you look over the right shoulder of Alex Albon, you can see the back of Liam Lawson. And yeah, that was just insane to know that I have met now 2 F1 drivers. Like current F1 drivers, you know. I didn't talk to Liam Lawson though, so it's not real meeting. I did talk to Alex though. You know, I told him like me and my sister were big fan of him. And yeah, it was just really nice. So, guys, if you want to have an autograph of one F1 driver, I can highly recommend Alex Albon, because he will take the time. Also, like, basically any driver, like, asking, if you want to have an autograph of an F1 driver, just ask. Like, they will be polite to you, you know. Like, they'll say, like, oh, I don't have the time, I'm sorry, you know. Or they'll go like, well, I'm kind of in a hurry, but fine, let's go have a photo, you know. If they're good F1 drivers, they'll say like, I'm in a hurry, but sure. My dog is barking right now. There must be a cat in the backyard. Anyway, let's continue before this video gets way too long. Valtteri Bottas was the only Alfa Romeo to finish after Zhou's crash, taking P15 from Tsunoda and Russell, the latter losing what would have been a points finish after contact with Norris during the final dash to the flag. Yeah, it was Tsunoda who caused it. I don't know why Russell decided to retire, because it was like, the car seemed fine. Like, sure, like, bit of contact, yeah, it's fine. It might have just been floor damage, because that is a big that is like so much performance downgrade in F1 right now. Speaking of which, joining Zhou on the sidelines were Charles Leclerc due to damage picked up on the first lap that ultimately proved too challenging to race with, and Logan Sargent, who followed up his qualifying crash with another heavy shunt. That man spent almost the entire race sitting with the marshals. Basically, from the moment he crashed out, he was like, at first he was like sitting in the grass, like disappointed. And then every now and then we would pan to a different shot of him sitting somewhere. And only at the red flag, he got back to the pit lane. Man spent the whole event, the whole thing, just watching it like a fan. That's like probably beautiful. Now we're gonna go to As It Happens. As It Happens. Let's go. After a rain-affected final practice and qualifying, all eyes were on the skies as the F1 paddock returned to Zandvoort for race day, with early showers clearing to leave a dry track ahead of the start, albeit dark clouds still lingering above the Dutch venue. My dad had like a map of the weather, like he had a weather radar the whole race with him on his phone. Like when, like all the time we would see like dark clouds, and we were like, what is happening? When is it going to happen? And then my dad's like, yeah, it's going to happen like this time, this and this time. Yeah, that would be my dad, and he would show us. That was alright. Next year if we're gonna go there, we're definitely gonna do that again. And we're gonna sit at a video wall. And I'm gonna make matching outfits. It's like as soon as I know that we have tickets, I'm gonna start making outfits for us, so that we we pop, we stand out, and we know that, and everyone knows like, oh, they're a group, it's fun. A couple of changes to the starting order saw Tsunoda demoted from 14th to 17th, promoting Hulkenberg, Joe and Ocon for impeding Hamilton in qualifying, and Magnussen moved from 18th to the pit lane via a host of power unit and gearbox changes. This meant a spot gained for F1 debutant Lawson, who was thrown in at the deep end in place of the injured Daniel Ricciardo at AlphaTauri and qualified last. The 21-year-old New Zealander getting himself strapped in for 72 demanding laps with limited wet running under his belt. Shortly before lights out, with spits of rain in the air, it was revealed that 18 of the 20 drivers would be starting the race on soft compound tyres. Hamilton and Hulkenberg bucking the trend by opting for the medium rubber. When the action began, Paul Sitter and Max Verstappen made a clean getaway to retain his advantage into turn 1, slotting in front of Norris, Albon, Russell and Alonso before the latter pulled a brilliant double move on the two British racers on the low line at the banked turn 3. But spits of rain suddenly turned into a full-blown shower, with Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Joe, Tsunoda, Lawson, yes, AlphaTauri did a double stack, and Magnussen pitting immediately to swap their slicks for intermediates. Ferrari caught out as they scrambled to get their tyres ready. I was face palming at that point. For real, I was for real face palming because I was like, no, this cannot be happening to Leclerc again. That man, I hope they get things all right for Monza, because like this ain't Ferrari anymore. This is just, if someone can make a good pun, leave it in the comments. Screw Ferrari. Screw you up, Ferrari. That's probably very terrible. If you can live with it, stay out, was the message to Verstappen before being told to prepare to pit a few seconds later, as the home favourite crawled around in front of Alonso, who had also got the jump on Norris, with Russell holding forth from Albon and Sainz. While the majority of drivers had pitted to swap tyres, Russell, Norris, Albon, Piastri, Stroll, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Hamilton and Sargent stayed out on slicks for another lap, with the intermediate runners charging their way through the field and Perez soon moving into the lead. By lap 3, only Russell, Albon, Piastri, Stroll, Bottas, Hulkenberg and Sargent were still running slicks, tumbling down the order in the process, leaving Perez with a 12-second advantage over Joe, Gasly and Paul sitting Max Verstappen. Verstappen was on a charge though, clearing Gasly and Joe in a quick succession to climb back up to P2, setting his sights on teammate Perez, who sat some 10 seconds clear after his inspired early pit call. With the dust settling on that drama, it was now a Red Bull 1-2 at the front, with Verstappen rapidly closing on Perez as Joe sat third from Gasly, Alonso and Sainz, the Spaniard managing to clear teammate Leclerc, who was struggling with some front wing damage picked up in first lap contact with Piastri. Both couldn't do anything about it. I mean, Piastri went. It was all in like the Hans Ernst, and Leclerc wanted to overtake Piastri, going out of Hans Ernst, and he drifted into Piastri, who was already like near the near the apex, not the apex, the exit. So yeah, both couldn't do anything about it. There was no penalty given out to anyone about it, so it was all good. It was deemed a race incident, as it should be. Tsunoda held 8th despite a slow pit stop, while Magnussen highlighted just how much ground could be gained in the tricky conditions as he rose from the pit lane to run 9th with Norris in the final points paying position. There were second stops from Magnussen, Hamilton and Stroll in lap 11, however, as they swapped back to slicks from intermediates despite Russell being told that another shower was due to hit the track in a matter of minutes. With Piastri, one of the drivers to stay out his starting set of softs, lighting up the timing sheets as the track gradually dried up. It was not long before the rest of the field traded their overheating intermediates for slicks. Crucially, Verstappen pitted a lap earlier than Perez on the 12th tour to overhaul his teammate in the pit lane, prompting some questions from the Mexican on the radio as he settled into second place, some 3 seconds adrift. Just as the race was settling down again, despite further spits of rain, Sargent lost control of his Williams at the exit of turn 8 and slammed into the barriers, prompting a virtual safety car and then a full safety car as the shaken American radioed his confusion at what had happened. We still don't know what had happened. As the field arrived at the rear of Bernd Meilander's Aston Martin, the top 10 order was Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, Gasly, Sainz, Zhou, Magnussen, Albon, the only driver yet to pit, Ocon and Tsunoda. Gasly clearing Sainz down the start-finish straight after his stop, but then given a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits. Norris found himself back in 11th after starting on the front row, followed by Leclerc, Hamilton and Piastri, who had stopped for a second set of softs, with Russell only 18th and lamenting "how did we mess this up" over the radio, prompting another stop to Hart's and seemingly an attempt to reach the checkered flag without another stop, weather permitting. With 21 of the scheduled 72 laps down, the safety car peeled in and the race resumed, Verstappen nailing the restart to hold on to his lead, while Perez defended boldly from Alonso and Gasly did just enough to keep Sainz behind him. A moment for Piastri saw him fall behind Bottas and drop to P15, while Albon found a way past Magnussen for 7th after a scary moment on the start-finish straight where the Williams man was less than amused by the Haas's change of direction to initially hold position, leading to the Dane being given a black or white flag. He moved under braking. That's basically what was the call. The action continued to come thick and fast over the following lap as Ocon got a jump on Magnussen, Tsunoda and Zhou, while Piastri made up for his mistake to reclaim P14 from Bottas into turn 1 around the outside before the Australian and Hamilton dispatched Leclerc. By lap 27, Verstappen's lead over teammate Perez was up to 3 seconds, with Alonso still running in third from Gasly, Sainz and Albon, who had Ocon rapidly closing on him as Zhou, Tsunoda, another to be given a black and white flag, and Norris, via a move on Magnussen, rounded out the points. Darker clouds are coming in, reported Verstappen, as the race edged towards its halfway mark, before a similar message went in Leclerc's direction, confirming that further spots of rain and another shower were making their way towards the track. A couple more changes to the top 10 position came when Norris and Hamilton both found a way past Joe, while Magnussen's demise continued as he dropped back to P13 ahead of his teammate Hulkenberg. Haas again struggling for race pace. Haas actually had an image of a hair on their car, because hair, the Haas is the Dutch word for hair. So yeah, that was interesting to find out. As the race hit the 40 lap mark, Verstappen led Perez by almost 7 seconds, with Alonso 4 seconds further back in third, as Gasly ploughed on in fourth, with his time penalty hanging over him ahead of Sainz and Albon. Further back, there was some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action between Leclerc and debutant Lawson, who traded positions on several occasions, only for Ferrari to call the Monegasque into the pits to retire shortly afterwards due to floor damage. Norris and Sainz kicked off the next sequence of pit stops on lap 43 and 44 respectively, before Albon finally ditched his starting set of softs on lap 45, as attention then turned to when Verstappen and the rest of the front runners would come in. While Perez boxed on lap 46, leader Verstappen extended his stint for 4 more laps with no dramas for either Red Bull drivers. But the same could not be said for Alonso, who lost out to Sainz due to a sticky front left tyre. After those stops, Verstappen still led comfortably from Perez, with Sainz now holding the final podium spot ahead of a recovering Alonso, Gasly, Tsunoda and Russell, who gained plenty of spots after his early switch to hard tyres. Albon was still in the points in P8, along with Ocon and Norris. It did not take long to recover P3 for Alonso, breezing past Sainz down the start-finish straight, with Russell doing the same on Tsunoda a few moments later to rise into 6th position and set about catching 5th placed Gasly. Tsunoda would soon drop out of the points, falling behind Ocon and Norris, as the Japanese driver reported damage over the radio, and stewards confirmed they were looking into an accident involving him and Russell. With about 15 laps remaining, Verstappen was told that more rain could arrive in the final 10 minutes, some of which could be heavy, while Hamilton made progress in the other Mercedes to pass Norris and Ocon for P8. Hamilton soon arrived on teammates Russell's tail, with the younger Briton moving aside after saving a huge slide through the high-speed sweeps, as Gasly got a jump on Sainz around the outside of turn 1 to move up to 4th. That was one heck of a move that Russell had. It was insane what happens to him there, but he saved it, so the car was fine. On lap 61, the predicted rain suddenly arrived, prompting the majority of the field to immediately dive into the pits and swap their slick tyres for intermediates. Verstappen, Alonso, Albon and Ocon, the front runners, to stay out longer. Following the stops, with Ocon the only driver to take on full wets for some reason, Ferrari remained in P1. Verstappen remained in P1 from Perez, only for his teammates to go too deep at turn 1 and suffer a half spin and lightly touch the barrier, allowing Alonso to slip ahead. With the rain lashing down, Joe slid off the track, approaching turn 1, and brought out the virtual safety car, prompting the Red Bull pair to pit for full wet tyres. Perez brushing the pit wall in the process just before the virtual safety car turned into a red flag on lap 65. Basically, Perez was in the pits, got a stop done, and then was wrecked. But basically, he could not get out of the pits because the light was red. So he was the first to be in the pits. That's like a cool thing. That looked set to prove costly for Perez, who was in the pit lane when the red flag came out and dropped down to 6th on the timing screens behind Gasly, Sainz and Hamilton, who also had a moment at turn 1 when he skidded through the gravel. However, a message from race control stated that Perez would be 3rd in the restart order behind Verstappen and Alonso, with Gasly set to filter in 4th from Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Russell, Albon and Piastri. So basically they go a lap back. That's how it goes. They basically go a lap back from when the safety car or the red flag was caught. Oh no, wait. They go back to the last from the race leader when he last got to like the sector 1, sector 2, sector 3 marks. So like if Max was still in sector 1 when the red flag was caught, it will go to basically that point. I don't know if it goes like that. It might just be a lap back, so yeah. Separate bulletins confirmed a 5-second time penalty for Tsunoda for causing an incident with Russell and a 10-second sanction for Red Bull for AlphaTauri teammate Lawson due to unnecessarily impeding Magnussen in pit lane. I haven't watched that, so I don't know what it actually means. After a 40-minute delay, the remaining 17 drivers headed back out on mandated intermediate tyres for a rolling start and 2 laps behind the safety car. After which Verstappen controlled proceedings to retain the lead over Alonso and Perez. There would be further drama for Perez though, with stewards handing him a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, while Russell briefly managed to get ahead of Norris and run P7, only for the pair to collide and a Mercedes man picking up terminal damage. No penalty awarded for that. With 3 laps to run, Verstappen led Alonso by 1.2 seconds, with Perez a second further back in 3rd, and Gasly looked set to profit from the aforementioned penalty in 4th, ahead of Sainz, Hamilton, Norris, Albon, Piastri and Ocon. Despite everything that was thrown his way, the pressure from the home crowd lining the track all weekend long, there would be no stopping Verstappen as he chalked up a record-equaling 9th straight win and an 11th from 13 races so far this season. Alonso held on for 2nd, bagging the Driver of the Day award in the process, while Perez's penalty promoted Gasly into 3rd and his first full podium of the season, having finished 3rd in the sprint race at Spa-Francorchamps last time out. Sainz beat Hamilton to 5th after a close battle in the closing laps, while McLaren duo Norris and Piastri sandwiched the Williams of Albon and Ocon rounded out the points, giving Alpine a welcome double points finish after their recent managerial changes. Stroll was unable to emulate 2-time world champion teammate Alonso as he came home in 11th, followed by Hülkenberg, Lawson, Magnussen, F1's newest driver, building up useful experience ahead of what could be another outing at Monza. After the checkered flag, another note from race control confirmed that Magnussen was under investigation over potential restart infringement, meaning the Haas man may well be shifted down the order later in the evening. Bottas had a quiet race and rode to 15th with Tsunoda and Russell. The Mercedes driver left to rue contact with Norris as they battled over 7th at the late restart. The final drives to finish in 16th and 17th respectively. Joe Leclerc and Sargent were the three drivers on the sidelines as the race drew to a close, thanks to the aforementioned crash for the Alfa Romeo and Williams man, and floor damage for the Ferrari. So yeah, next weekend, as told, is Monza. And I'm not sure if you guys know what has currently been happening at Monza. Basically, you guys know 2019, probably you guys knew that. In 2019, Leclerc won. The year later, he crashed out of the race. And Gasly won. Year later, 2021, Gasly crashed out of the race. Both races because there was sprint weekend. And then, well, Gasly didn't finish the race. Keep it to that. Then Ricciardo won, which was his last win. Beautiful win. Then in 2022, Ricciardo did not finish the race, but Max Verstappen won. And if it continues like this, then Max Verstappen will not finish the 2023 Monza Grand Prix, meaning he will not beat Vettel's record. I don't have high hopes that he can do it, but yeah, we'll just wait and see. Also, next weekend is MotoGP. I don't know where they are gonna be. I really just don't know. Let me just quickly get it up on here. MotoGP. It might be like Brno or something. So yeah. And they're going to, they're going to Catalonia, so Barcelona. So yeah, next weekend we have that. I might do the Aftertalk separately because like this takes a long time. So yeah, there will be 2 different Aftertalks. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll just like read out the parts of as it happens and then the MotoGP. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please hit the like button. Also consider subscribing if you don't want to miss any of these kind of videos. But that's it from me for now, and I shall see you guys in another video. Bye!